Hey friends, Pastor Nicole here. So glad you clicked on to our midweek moment. We continued on this week in our sermon series, Blessed, the Journey of Mary, where we are taking a look at Mary's story throughout the Gospel of Luke. This week we talked about the Magnificat, the song that Mary sings, where she is just kind of revealing the good news, proclaiming the gospel, sharing about how God has worked in her life and how God is bringing justice to the whole world. Now, each week during our midweek moment during this sermon series, we've been taking a look at the historical places where these have happened, kind of a little mini tour through the Holy Land. And the Magnificat takes place at the same place that we looked at last week, where Mary and Elizabeth met at Elizabeth's home. So I don't have any new places to show you Mary related this week. So I thought we would jump to the story of the shepherds. And I wanted to take you to see a little bit of the shepherds' fields. My first trip to the Holy Land in 2020, in March of 2020, you might see where this is going, was lovely. And the thing I was looking forward to the most was going to the shepherds' fields. I have always loved that part of the Christmas story. Hark the Herald Angels Sing is one of my favorite songs of all time. And I was in charge of leading devotions at the Shepherd's Field. And I was going to have us sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And I was just like picturing this perfect moment in my mind, this meaningful moment. And what happened was the West Bank, the entire West Bank got shut down because of COVID. Now, at the time, we didn't really know how serious COVID was, but we weren't allowed to go to Bethlehem at all on that trip, which was very disappointing. So fast forward to this year, March of this year, we headed back to the Holy Land, and you better bet the thing I was most excited about again was going to the Shepherd's Field. And so when we arrived, we kind of walked down this long path, and you see this church that kind of comes up out of the space, and we went inside. The ceiling is incredible. It is lets rays of light come in that just kind of, you can imagine, are like the rays that the angels would have brought with them when they lit up the sky with the shepherds in the field that night. And I gave a short devotion in that space, and we sang Hark the Herald Angels Sing in this beautiful worship space. The acoustics were incredible. We sounded like a professional choir. It was amazing. And my dream was realized. But after you leave that church, you kind of walk down and around, and there is, you can see the fields there, and the fields are not what we think of when we think of Midwestern fields for livestock. They're rocky, it's mountainous, it's just quite different than what I had pictured in my mind. And there's also a little cave there that the church is kind of built on top of, an ancient cave where the shepherds would have taken refuge from storms, where they would have slept at night. And we were able to go and take part in being in that cave as well. And if I recall, we sang some Christmas carols in the cave as well. If you know me, you know you're not surprised that we were singing Christmas songs, even in March. But it was such an experience to be in that place, to know that even if those weren't the exact shepherd's fields, that those were similar fields to what the shepherds would have been in when they received that visit from the angels that evening, telling them the greatest news that they would ever hear, that the Lord, the Messiah, had been born not that far from where they were, and that they were able to go and meet the Christ child. I cannot imagine how wonderful that must have been. And someday when I get to heaven, I'm going to track down those shepherds, and I'm going to ask them all sorts of questions about what it was like to experience that holy night. Can you imagine? They must have had an incredible story to share for the rest of their lives. And can you imagine that generation to generation on down, they would have told the story of when their ancestor had met the Messiah? Just incredible. So as we continue on in our Advent season, as we continue to make our way towards Christmas Day, I hope you will be able to spend some time like the shepherds, glorifying the Christ child, pondering how amazing that night must have been, and just spending some time thanking God for the gift of his son. So I hope you will join us this weekend as we have our kids' Christmas program, because it's the best Sunday in December every year. The kids do an incredible job. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. You won't want to miss it. Or if you're able to worship with us online, we have a wonderful message for you there too. So we hope you'll join us for worship this weekend, and I hope to see y'all soon. Bye.